So we did this much last time, and this time we're going to go over the generation of PDF files of services in PDF. We'll look at the assets project and what that is. Then we will explore the services index, and then talk about service categories and the names of the system project. We've touched on that already, but we'll go over that. Other non-auto generated content and index modifications. So I'm launching the clips and I'm not going to share this. And it's saying screen share has failed to start. Let me do that again. Okay. Okay. So you see the ALWB? Yes.
Yeah.
As we said before, in order to generate the website, we go to the, currently we use the templates project. We have checked to see that the status of the templates is final and which templates that we want to do. So we'll open the generator settings first. We need to it's not good. Select the test. We're gonna do it in test today, and that's the website that we're working on. Then we go to the generation file and we select what kind of files we're going to generate. By default, I have it at HTML, and today we are not going to do HTML. So I will put no there, and I will put yes here for PDF, and I'm sure this will be a little bit streamlined in books, a little bit different. But just so you'll know, here's what it means. It means yes, we will generate PDFs. Will we generate in language 1, which is Greek? At this time, no. Will we generate a file in language 2, which is English? No. Will we generate a language 1 and 2, the bilingual file? Yes. The cover version, I pricked the program to doing this. When it's Greek and English, the cover on it will say texts in Greek and English. Do you see how that showed the bubble? Okay, so that's what's going to show on the cover, so that people know that this is a bilingual file. When it comes time to do the English only, I will manually change this to E, and then it will say text in English. That's what's going to show on the cover. Okay, so since we're doing bilingual, we want to make sure that the cover version is the Greek English. Everything else on the cover for the GOA DCS is in English. The covers are in English. In the case of Spanish or other languages, that it will be whatever language you force it to be in. So since we're not doing a 2-language, a bilingual file, it's actually just going to be one. It's considered one column that wraps. Okay, so we say it's one column. If it were Greek and English, we would set this to 2. And the gap between columns, since it's only one column, is 0. This indicates which style sheet for the PDF we're going to use, and that is where is that? That's under PDF colors. No. Oh, here, PDF settings, right in front of me. Okay, so in this folder is where I've stored the various style sheets for PDF generation. A PDF style sheet, in this case, GoArch. So the GoArch style sheet is basically the CSS for the PDF. It says, you know, when there's a when there's a hymn, make it the size of the font, the kind of paragraph. We're even allowed, I forget, do we do first letter? I don't know if first letter is allowed in HTML. It doesn't have as much, we haven't been able to figure out how to do drop caps. I mean, it's possible, but we haven't done them. I mean, I don't know if the folks that will do drop caps in PDF generation that does it. Yeah, okay. All right, so now that we've set all these things up, our next file that we open is the generator, and that is here. And here's where we did this for the HTML. We use a regular expression to indicate which of all the files, which of all the templates we want to generate. Now, in the DCS currently, there are, if you remember, there's regular on a Sunday, there's regular matins, and then there's also matins customizable. There's a version of matins that once you open the HTML, it goes to a options screen and you pick how much of the canon you want and where you want the gospel reading placed, you know, where the Church of Greece does it or where the Patriarchate does it. There's some, you know, there's some flexibility in the ordering of matins in the HTML. But that's not a file that we want to generate in PDF, okay? Because that would be very strange. That would have all kinds of weird things in it. It wasn't meant to be printed as a PDF file. In order to exclude that kind of template, came up with this particular regular expression that says, look up all templates that, you know, are month June, any 2-digit date, and then we want this basically says any service except for the services that have the extension MA2, which is the customizable matins, and I've also added H91, which is the extension of the file that gives you the readings. That particular file wasn't intended to ever be printed. That was just, you know, to open up in your app and see the daily readings. That we never expected people to print that out on a daily basis. So that makes the index a little bit lighter and more concise. So since we are doing PDF files now, I have to use this regular expression and not any of the other ones, so that it will exclude these two kinds of files. All right. And then currently I will press now Control G, which says generate. And in the background, it's generating all of June, all the templates in June that were of final status, except for any templates that are MA2, that have the name MA2, which is, we'll go over that, or H91. And I did this earlier today because I created the website for May and June. And it's a good thing I went over the steps that we said, because I found some templates that were not correctly labeled in their status. So what's happening now, I can't do anything in the workbench until this process is over. it's creating, and maybe Michael, you can explain what the FO files are, the underlying.
Right. I can't remember what the acronym means, but basically what's happening is um, there's a Java library that we use to create the PDF files, and it expects as its input a different language, if you will. And so it's generating the files into that format. And then later, in another step, Father Seraphim will feed those files into the actual PDF generator.
Okay, it's refreshing the workspace. Something that won't happen in Doxa, correct? We won't be waiting for refreshing and whatever.
Correct. That doesn't, not at
But
all.
it's been worth the wait. So here we were working on the test website. So let's go see what we've done. So these were PDFs. So the generated templates will end up in the P folder, in the S folder, 2023, and we just did all of June. Okay, so if we open any of these and look at, so we notice that we generated Greek and English, okay? And here's what was generated. It's a file named SE service MO6 June day 9 dot vespers dot FO. That's not a PDF file. That's not a PDF file. So we have to go through another. So this is, if I open this, I mean, you can see here, this is like the markup language or whatever it is, which is, you know, which will turn into a PDF file. But I mean, you can see it talks about styles and, you know, line height 150%, padding bottom. I mean, these are the styles that we gave it in the PDF style sheet. So it took all that information, you know, and it put it together. This is much like if you opened an HTML file and you were looking at the raw HTML, you would see that markup language and stuff. So here we have, and it even has, you know, it even has the actual text, you know, that the strings, you know, the actual values are there here. Phoneme, proscidio, everything is here. But we have to change it now into to be a PDF. FO means XLS formatting object. That's what FO means. So in order to do that, and I'm going to keep this folder open, we run a Java program. It's a Java program, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's really not, I mean, it's part of the workbench, but it's kind of separate. It's a separate program, and we call it the transformer. And this is going to go through and find, throughout the template project, is going to find any FO files and convert them into PDFs. Okay, I don't have to say only June or whatever. It's just going to go look for all FO files, and down here you'll see the progress of it. So okay. So here we are. And here's the progress. Look how quickly it's turning things into PDF files. You know how when you save something into PDF, you know, and you wait a little while and it, you know, saves and outputs into PDF. Okay, we just did, I don't know how many hundreds of files. It converted them from FO into PDF. Now, if there were any like templates that had issues, like we're missing something, like earlier today I was doing something and some of the templates were missing the line that said what cover to use in the template itself. Then it flagged it. It became red, and there was all kinds of error messages and stuff for that particular file. And then it continued going on to the next ones. And so I watch. That's why I don't want to do too many at one time, because you want to watch and see, did anything turn red, and kind of catch what date it was so that you can scroll back and then go to the template and fix it. But it looks like there were no errors, and they all got, oh, and look here, instead of FO, this was replaced now by a PDF. And if I click on this, I don't know if you can see this, but it will open a PDF file, and it's the service. Okay, I don't know. Do you see that? Can you see that PDF file? Okay, because it's not the screen. Anyway, trust me, It's the service that you would see. Okay. All right. So that's how I currently do generate the PDF files that go, the service templates that go into the DCS. Are there any questions or comments, especially like what to expect in Voxa as far as this process goes?
Well, in Voxa, it's I mean, it's very fast. It generates the PDFs the same time as it's doing the HTML. So,
Oh,
but
really? Wow.
yeah, but you can deselect that as an option.
Uh-huh.
And also, I have two keywords in the liturgical markup language. One is HTML only, and the other is PDF only. And you can wrap statements with those. So you can exclude a certain section of the code, indicating that it's only for HTML or for PDF. I was actually thinking, when I saw you're using separate regular expressions, I was thinking maybe it would be a good idea in Voxa to add another keyword that basically says this entire template is HTML only. And then that way you wouldn't have to worry about it at all. So like your MA2s, you would mark that as HTML only. And
Gotcha.
it would never bother, it wouldn't even try to create a PDF.
Uh-huh.
And that way you don't have to worry about it. You've just flagged it as to be excluded.
So, I mean, there would be two approaches: from the template itself, or from the kind of template. Like, if the program knew MA2s do not get made. There's a list of, it's like a list of ignore PDF.
Oh, that's another way to do it too.
Because, there might be other ones. I mean, that way, that's easier than going through, 300 and however many templates. I mean, it wouldn't be hard, but that wouldn't be marking each template. Whereas this way, we might develop other files that we don't want as PDFs.
Yeah.
And whichever way works best for you, it's going to have the same result.
Right. Well, I may do. I'm trying to think. I mean, if you have the exclusion list, that's more convenient. I may go ahead and add also the ability to flag an entire template as excluded.
Yeah, there's some have found that while sort of global, rules and stuff like that are kind of cool, actually doing stuff every day specific and template specific is actually less insane, given how much stuff there is.
Yeah, and also in Voxa, it'll tell you that there were errors.
Yeah. So. Okay. All right. So we've generated the PDF. Okay. Now we're going to go back to. I'm going to go back to sharing the workbench. And we see that much like the HTML files, the PDF files were generated and placed in their appropriate, month, year folder, month folder, day folder, service, and language. Okay. Now that's all important because that's actually the URL of the service file. Now, notice that there's an index HTML, and the HTML files all resolve to an index, a file called index. No matter what it is, it's index. They all have the same name, but it's their placement, it's their, the folder, the directories and the folders and stuff that give it its, unique identity? Maybe Michael say it in the correct.
Yeah, it's just a convention of HTML that if you point to in a URL, if you point to a directory, it automatically looks for an index.html file or an index.htm file. So that way you don't have to say the file name all the time.
Right. Now, in this case, with the PDFs, here's what well, you can't see that. I'll open it a different way. All right, can you see that file that I just opened? So this is the index file, but it will point to the PDF file. So that's why that's there. I don't know, Michael, can you explain why that is preferable?
Well, like I said, it's a convention in web servers that you just point to the directory and it'll look for the index automatically.
Okay.
And if I didn't do it, if I didn't set it up this way, where it just the index automatically loads the PDF, then you would always have to know the exact name of the PDF file to get it to open. This way it becomes generic from an end user's perspective.
Okay. And all this is generated automatically, given, and it's given, the name of the PDF file, which is compiled by, well, it's the template, its name plus PDF, right? All right. So now how does this become the website? So now that we've done all the generating we want to do, we've generated HTML, we've generated PDFs. Let's see what we've generated. So here is the test website right there. You see that? And I'm going to open it. And it's composed of these folders. Well, we've looked at the P folder. That's the folder where all the PDF files here, 2023, March, May, June. I mean, this is don't expect it to be, well, actually, I'll show you the GOA one. It'll be easier that way. Okay, here's the one I just generated. So the P has the PDF service files for March, April, May, and June, and all the days in it and all the services in whatever given day. It has similarly the HTML files for those days, months, services. Here's the CSS that governs the HTML. Here's the folder that has the JavaScripts. Here are the indexes. Here, whatever images that we use. These are things that are appropriate for a website to have, style sheets and scripts and et cetera, et cetera. Where do these live? I mean, how does it know to get any of these things? All we did now is generate PDF files and HTML, but where did everything else come from? I mean, we didn't talk about any of these. So these are what we call the assets. And there's another project that's called the assets project. And every time that the website is generated, it goes and gets the things from the assets project and copies them into the website. Okay. So here's what you see here about blank zero, books index, contact, all that kind of stuff. That's in the root. And there it is. All these things are pasted in to our whichever website, everything that's in the root, along with the JS folder and the CSS folder. So that's why we call it the assets project. And it creates, a website. And here's the DCS. If I click on this, it's going to open the DCS. And why don't I do that? And I will share that now. Okay, so here's the DCS that we just looked at, and I clicked on the DCS.html and it opened this frame set. Here's what we have. Now, if I go to any day here, April 1st, it comes out with the, we expect to see this. It's during Lent, so we have a bunch of services, but these are the services for April 1st, 2023. All this text, is somewhere in the library. We'll find it. But what I want to focus now is here are the services that were generated, both HTML, which is the view, and the PDF, which is the print. I used to say HTML, DCS, and call it PDF, but people were, I think I said this before, people were using PDFs to read from on their devices, and the PDFs were never intended for that purpose. They were intended to be printed, whereas the cool sort of, thing was the HTML that had all the links and collapses and stuff like that. So what happened to create this is the following. That's this folder here called indexes. After the website, after we've created all the service templates and the files, then at the end, there's a process that calls generate the website. I can turn it on and off. Usually anyway, it ran, and it goes through and it reads the H folder S and the P folder S, and sees what dates, what year there is, what months there are, what day it is, and on any given day, what services there are, and in any given service, which version, Greek, English only, or whatever. And it creates the indexes, which are here. So here we have, for example, this is the index that opens when we open year 2023, month 04, day 01. And if I click on that, you don't see that. You're going to see it now. Here's what opened. Okay, it's not in its frame, so it takes up the whole, it takes up the whole window here. But here, the Midnight Office with those versions, Matins with those links, and it automatically creates the link to those files. That's magic. That was the cool magic that made it possible to do so much more, because creating those indexes was very time consuming during the e-Matins days. So that's what we have here. Now, where do we get Midnight Office, Matins, where are those words coming from? They have to be somewhere. Everywhere there's a word, it has to come from somewhere. It has to be in the program. It has to be in some library somewhere. So we're going to go back to the workbench. So far, any questions about indexes? I mean, does that make sense? Okay, all right. All right. All right. Where is that? Template titles. Okay. So template titles is a language specific actually version specific, but you're going to have your public thing, so it's going to read public. But here's what we have. These are we're going to look at the dated services here. So let's take a look at the Matin service. When a template ends in MA, just MA, we've seen that. I'll open a template here. All right. All right, here's a template. That's the Matin service for June 1st. And the template name ends in .ma. Okay, that means it's the regular Matins. That means that when the index is created and the link for that file is created, it's going to look here to see, well, when it says MA, it should say Matins. If it says that, I'm sorry. This MA2 should say customizable Matins. Hold on. Template titles. No, we want index titles. I'm sorry. Where are the index? Michael, help me out.
You're sure they're not in that same file?
Some MA2 should say Matins customizable. So those are here we go. Website index titles. We talked about this. Are these the ones that we talked? Well, no, but anyway.
No, we talked about the PDF that covers and credits.
Gotcha. Okay, so now I take back what I said. The website index titles are not version language specific, like DD's English or something, whatever. They are website client specific. Okay. So here, GoArch does not stand for a translation of something. GoArch stands for the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese as the client, website. Okay, so there's only one of these. We don't need one in English and in Greek. Okay, it's what is going to show up on the indexes. And so when we see in an index and it says GR, to indicate it's a Greek and English, version, it's going to say, for Greek, it's going to say GR. For English, it's going to be English. And if it's GR and EN, the delimiter is going to be a hyphen. So you've seen that in the indexes. That's where this information is. Okay. When the top file type is HTML, make the link say view. We used to say make the link say HTML/DCS or something. It used to say that. You can put whatever you want in here, and that's what's going to, And when the file type is PDF, say put that word, print, and then make it a hyperlink. All right. Here are all that stuff that was on the index, like the text that was at the top that said, links with labels and stuff like that. All that stuff is here. For example, here, description 1, links with the label, print, open PDF files. That stuff was at the top of each day's index. That's where this stuff is at, and so forth. So I want to quickly go here to the file type. So When a file ends in MA, a template ends in MA and it generates whatever, it's going to be called matins. If a template ends in MA2, in the index, it's going to have a link, and this is what's going to be the title of that link, matins customizable. Okay. When a template is MA3 for me, so I created these sort of categories. Okay. Michael gave me like up to 10. I could have 10 kinds of matins and 10 kinds of every service like that. So I said, MA will just be regular matins. MA1 is specifically for Posca, a particular one. MA2 is for my customizable. MA3 is when I do a matin service and it's just all laid out, printable, unabridged. MA4 is when there's there's a commemoration, but also, St. Artemius and St. Gerasimos together. So I call that an MA4 so that it'll say matins with an additional commemoration. MA5 is matins alternative commemoration, like say that, we're at December 2nd, which is St. Porphyrios, and we have the regular, December 2nd, which is prophet, I don't know, Habakkuk or Avakum, or, some prophet, but the alternative commemoration will be, for St. Porphyrios. So both are available, and in order to facilitate that, the regular commemoration from the Minaeon will be MA, and then the one for St. Porphyrios will be the alternative commemoration, MA5, and that's how we get those placed like that. And that applies to Vespers and anything else. So what would we call it? Client manager. I mean, anyone who's, using in the position of managing, the generation of a client's DCS has the liberty to categorize as you wish and use, these labels as you wish. You can make your templates be whatever you want. But if you're starting off with my templates, you might want to stay, with this, but you don't have to. If you want to do other things with your templates and you have your own fork, obviously you're going to be separate, then your MA2 can mean anything you want it to mean. It can be some kind of matins, that's for a particular church. And MA3 might be, this is the matins as they do it, when you don't have a priest. And MA4 might be, here's the matins that we do, whatever. It would mean different, sort of different rubrics. Yeah. All right. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's where that information, the link, HTML link in the index, and that's called the website index titles. And it is client specific. Where are we? Services index, service categories, names in the system project. I don't think that's in the system. All right. And okay. So now we've generated dated services in HTML, dated services in PDF. We've seen how they are organized in the website. We see how they are indexed and how that the indexes are created. And we recognize it from the DCS, and that's kind of how all that happens. There are other things in a website that aren't automatically indexed or created. For example, the books, what we call the books, we call this services, sacraments and services, but you can call it whatever you want. So we go here and we're looking at the DCS as it is online today. And can you see that? Yes. So here's the daily services. We just went over that. Okay. It's there's this item, sacraments and services. And here's where, we have a lot of other static materials. Frequently used sacraments. This can be whatever you want. And behind it is HTML with links, typically to scores, or audio files. Oftentimes, it's a text like, the Thanksgiving prayers for Holy Communion, if somebody wants those, or you can print them. Here's where the archives of the previous, quarter or period of the DCS is, in case people want to, go back to it. So this particular menu, several years ago, I decided that it would be managed by hand. In other words, there is a way when we generate the website to say generate the books index. I always keep it on no, okay? And that way it doesn't automatically generate everything that's in the B folder. So let's take a look. This going back and forth is driving me crazy. All right. So in a given website, like the GOA website, you saw how we had the S folder. That's where the services are, the dated services. But we have the B, which is the books folder, and those templates begin with BK, period. Whereas the service templates begin with SE. So when a template begins with SE, the program knows to generate it and put it into its calendar in the place in the calendar. When a template begins with BK, that means generate it and put it in the B folder. Okay. But it's not date specific, it's just a service, right? So for example, baptism. All right. So I've created a template called BK baptism. It's the baptism service. And when I generate this, it puts it in the P. If it's a PDF, it's going to put it in P and then B and then baptism and then whichever language we decided to do it in, and there it is, or in the HTML, B baptism, okay. But that index of how we get to that in the DCS is called the books index. Do you see that there? Yes. So we're going to look at the books index as HTML because that's how we edit it currently. So this is a very huge file. Like it has 13,865 lines. I mean, maybe that's not big for, but it's a biggie. And I can collapse everything here and it'll help us. All right. That didn't do it. So here, folding, collapse all. Okay. All right. We'll see it part by part now here. So you can see how this is built now as an HTML file. I mean, there's a div called content, and it's got a few paragraphs. There's a div called the tree container, and then that has a uncategorized list of things. Okay, so here are the various things that we click on when we open the books menu. For example, the frequently used. But let's go down to something that we recognize, say the octoechos, all right? So the octoechos has whatever music we have, whatever scores we have, especially for Saturday evening and Sunday morning, those scores. So if somebody wants to just go directly, like opening one of the music books, opening a music book, the Anastasia Matarion or whatever, that they can do. They go to the books menu, they click on Optoikos, and you come to the various modes. So let's say we're looking at Plagal Second, since it's open. I mean, it's HTML. You have to, I just copy and paste and adjust. I mean, I didn't write this from scratch. I forget who created this. Well, I did I create, yeah, I forget. But once it's been created, I just adjust it. I don't do it from scratch every time. I add to it, or I, delete from it. But it's got, these are CSS controlled classes and stuff. And so here is where the links are with the URL, and probably full of all kinds of errors, but it works. And because of the way the classes are in the CSS, they collapse and they open, in the menu itself. So that's where that is. You can make however you want. At one point we were using, was it Bootstrap, Michael? Do you remember you had done something where we were using a different kind of folding menu thing? Remember?
That was probably Bootstrap. Yeah.
Was it Bootstrap? Yeah. And then I don't know. I didn't like the continual, for the services continual drop down. And we went to a simpler way. But this one kind of works differently. So that's not auto-generated content, this menu, as well as, let's say, the blank page. What's blank? Now we can see that.
It means it won't display anything.
Well,
it'll be an empty page. Yeah.
Yeah, we call it blank, but that's what it's called. But it's actually the splash page when you open the DCS and you see on the left side, the menu, and on the right side it says the digital chant stand of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. Let me go back to that.
Yeah, I think maybe originally it was blank, and then you added stuff into it.
Correct. It's called frame score.
Yeah, it's a score frame content. Yeah.
Yeah, in the frame set, there's the main frame, and then there's three iframes, in it. So we changed this for a while. This was a Twitter feed. For a while, it was a Twitter feed, and then we stopped doing that. And for a while, it was an icon, whatever you put in there. And now I just adjust it every time and put updates. Someone said maybe the DCS should have a Twitter account, and I could just have the Twitter feed, and that way, not only have the Twitter feed there, but I mean, then people could have, subscribe or however you use Twitter. I'm not actually a Twitter user, but all right. So that was blank. Contact. So, okay, in the website, let me go back. So additionally, we have the About page. Do you see that? Okay. Nod if you see that. Yes, okay. So this is where currently the GOA puts the sort of the copyright, the permissions to use, or what is meant when you see a C or an R, when you see the version designator of who translated what, and especially for the versions of scripture, when you see SAAS at the end of a psalm, what does that mean? That means it's taken from the scripture and the permission to use or whatever. We can thank people here. You can have disclaimers. It's the About page. Any website that has an About page, contact information. And then the Contact page, has links that people can, if they have questions or suggestions or complaints or, whatever, that's how. And I don't know, I mean, that's all that we have I don't know that we can have more, or if that's handled by JavaScript as far as the website goes. But currently, this is the default, menus. Preferences is for the website. You get to select if you only want to see, Greek and English, or only Greek. I never use English. Well, I shouldn't say that. Oh, God forgive me. I mean, I never use, Greek or, whatever. So I only want to see English. I don't print things out, so no need to show me PDF links. And I only read Byzantine notation, let's just say. And then you save, and then you return. And anywhere that, and now if you go to a daily menu, it's much more concise. It only gives you the links that you need. Okay. So that's a nice little feature that I think John Daly did. So if we go back and we can change the preferences and say, show me everything. Save, return, and there, everything's back. You see that? Okay.
I actually never realized that was an option. That's really handy.
Yeah, the iPad app has that in its own way that Bruce, gave that utility, in the iPad app, but the website didn't have it. And I said, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could have that as well on the website? So,
maybe we should talk about this for a minute for the sake. I don't know that Jesse knows how it all works, or the people watching this, but there's if you go through a web browser, you get to this site. But we have there's an Android app too, right, Father?
The Android app only reads the HTML of the services. Yeah.
The iOS app is done by Bruce. I've forgotten his last name.
Geerdes, yeah.
Yeah. And what it does is it does what we call screen scraping, meaning it actually reads the website for you and then reformats it as an iOS application. And it actually is running a browser also, but it can do other additional things that you don't have on the site itself. And for example, you can have it download the content so that when you're not connected to the internet, you can still watch it.
Yes, that on the iOS app. If you're at a church and you have the DCS set up like we do, at the churches that I've sung at, I don't know if you've opened something and it's in the cache, but I think you have to be on Wi-Fi, all the time, and for that.
Well, on a Mac or an Apple device, you can actually tell it to store a web page for future reading.
Oh, maybe Chrome has that as well, and I just haven't.
Could be, yeah.
Also, the what's it called when adaptive? What's it called when you give it this much of the address, and then it figures out whether it's on a device or whether it's on a, what's that called? And so without putting DCS, we just put GOA DCS, but not the whole.
Right. It's just remembering.
It figures out
things that you've looked up before that where the beginning part of it matches what you're typing.
Well, I think what I'm trying to get at is what we call where it figures out viewport, where it figures out.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So in HTML, you can do what's called a media query to see what the size of the display is of the device that the person's using. So both the width and the height. And you can, like, for example, when you hit the DCS, the very initial page that you hit actually does a query to see what kind of device you have. And if you're on like an iPhone, a smartphone, it won't show you the DCS with the score pane. When you click a link, it'll actually open up a new tab instead.
Yeah, instead of the frame set, which is the DCS.html file.
Yeah, it opens frameless when it's on a small device, but that's automatically done.
Correct. So when okay. All right. So that was the non-generated content and index modification. Index modifications. You saw that I had, for example, Vespers VE.5 or .ve5, for example, for a Vespers that's an alternative commemoration, like for St. Porphyrios, right? So when the index is generated, it's just going to say those words, alternative commemoration. It doesn't know that it's St. Porphyrios. All it knows is what we wrote in that file that says, when you see VE5, put the words alternative commemoration. Okay, so there's got to be a way to go into the index and change, and surgically, change some of those, strings to say Vespers for St. Porphyrios, or Vespers for this alternative feast, that is not normally on the calendar. And so my nephew created a program that I do that. It's after after the website is generated, it goes in and I can go in and do that. But it's not something I can, it's not something that matters, because I think Michael's going to make that utility different, right? I mean, are we able to go into?
What exactly are you talking about? At first I thought you were saying you're going to say that, JavaScript that automatically fills in the appropriate name for the commemoration or something.
No, I actually, I mean, why don't we save that for next time?
Okay.
The thing is,
I'd have to see what you're talking about.
Okay, but my question to you is, will Doxa allow manual modification of the indexes?
Yes. One thing it does is if you, for example, your main page, or if you create one and stick it in the assets, it'll just copy it over and it won't bother recreating that. But yeah, you can edit things. You can put a replacement index if you want.
So here's specifically what I'm talking about. Am I able to share? Yes. Okay. So Easter's okay. So this is Monday, April 17th. It's Bright Monday, okay? And we have the normal services. It's matins on that day, customizable matins, unabridged matins, the hours, the divine liturgy, liturgy variable parts, et cetera, Vespers that evening, okay? Vespers on Bright Monday, but for Bright Tuesday. And in many places on Bright Tuesday, they celebrate the feast of Saints Raphael, Nicholas, and Irene. Okay. Well, so if you can see down here, down at the bottom, when I hover over the link, you see that it's a VE5 file. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So back in that other index website index file, I designated that when a template and it's generated service ends in VE5, it should say Vespers Alternative Commemoration. And that's what it said when I generated the website. Then I went in with this other utility after the fact. I shut down, the workbench. I launched, in order to do that, I have to launch Docker desktop. And then, this program that my nephew, it opens up, it's like it's just a server. It opens up the website and it allows me to go into every one of these, every one of these dated dates, indexes, and write in an alternative text if I want to, and then save it.
So Father, you're doing it day by day, manually through that utility?
Well, yeah, I mean, it scroll, it goes from one day to the next. You click the arrow, it goes to the next day, it goes to the next day, but I only go to the days that I need to change. I know that, and what it creates in the website, I should show you this, Michael. What it creates then is a JSON file. Because it also has to change what the iOS app does. So that's this file here, index modifier. It creates this index modifier JSON file, and here's what that looks like. Okay, but that's all after effect stuff. Post-production. That's what it is. It's post-production. And that's not something that, Michael, that you built or even probably know about.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of it.
Right.
But yeah, that's interesting. That there's something in the future that I want to talk to you about that would actually feed into this kind of thing, but it's even broader in scope than this.
Yeah. So, but notice that, originally it said Vespers Alternative Commemoration. That's the default, that's the default string for those. But I wanted it to say Vespers St. Erasmus on August 15th for Vespers. August 16th, it's Midnight Office Alternative Commemoration, and so forth. And so this file is created, and then it runs. So there's some script that runs, and he also, here the services index. This JSON file, services index, is what the iPad app reads. The iOS reads this file in order to create its index. It doesn't use the indexes that are created by the ALWB, but in order to leverage, the capabilities of iOS and the iPad, we have this. This is generated automatically. Michael, you did that, right? You made it.
Yeah, and even invokes. So this is generated, and Jesse, I might add, I've talked in the past with Bruce. He's actually able to add other DCS websites. So in the future, it would be possible even for Spanish to be offered through the iOS app for Digital Chant Stand. But this is what it reads. Yeah.
It's possible now. Well,
theoretically, we just haven't had it. Or is he actually doing it?
Well,
your alternate sites.
There is, as long as it's on the GoArch server. But then I think you can change that too. There are some settings in server settings in the iOS app that if you modify them, you can point to another DCS already. Like clients of the GOA, like parishes and stuff like that, where I put their client website, but it's on the GoArch server. I just change the last, the name of the website, and it goes to that. It reads that instead.